Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I came down here with a bunch of party animals, so we're used to partying like pretty heavy in Yerushalayim. I imagine they party quite a bit in Tel Aviv as well. I just don't know if they do it quite as often as we're doing it in Yerushalayim. So I had a van full of revelers, but they were all expecting like a bunch of alcohol. So I think I saw a bottle of whiskey here, and I brought my own. Thank you for the water. And I brought my own beer. Actually, bring my own beer. So let's start with a song, just to loosen up the crowd a little. Where's my drummer? Evan, please. I want you guys all to say hi to my dear friend Evan. Because Evan stage a little small. I think it might be an arc behind me. Is that possible? There's an arc behind me. Let's do a little song in honor of Jerusalem. Now we can do a little Purim music. I'm going to play a Purim song you'll never hear ever. Except for now. Just mirror loud. Okay? You're going to freak. It's going to miss the downbeat sometimes. Okay, here we go. So I'm a Kalina Chassid. Kalina Chassidim are a group, from Europe, but they left Europe. They moved to Jerusalem. over 200 years ago. Well, first they lived in Tiberia, and then they moved to Jerusalem. And they are a total time capsule of Jewry before the Industrial Revolution. It's totally weird, but they're actually a time capsule. Now, there are very few of them are that pure still, but I got to rub shoulders for 22 years now with them, and I got to meet the ones who are like, remember being put on donkeys to go to Rabbi Shimon in Meron for 3 weeks of travel to go for Lag BaOmer, and like they're the real deal, really something very special. And their songs are very Middle Eastern in flavor, and so here's a little taste of Purim. They'll do this song probably for 2 hours, this Purim, and they have another one they do for about 2 hours too. Here goes. Their songs, when they're happy days, are just in major keys, like none of that like kind of European angst. It's just happy. So you got to imagine like Mordechai and Esther kind of walking through the capital, okay? Ready? That's what to have in mind. It was written for that idea. Here we go. Now we're just going to try this again with everybody clapping on every beat. So it'll be something like this. Come on, let's go. Everybody. Don't stop, don't stop. It's a bit aerobic. It's a bit aerobic. Those who do yoga will be laughing. Purim. It's the deepest event of the year. It's a very interesting download. Very different than any other holiday. You see, each holiday throughout the year is a download. And our job, using the guidelines of a holiday, like for example, Pesach, we'll be avoiding chametz, and we'll say Haggadah, there's do's and there's don'ts on each holiday. And those are the actual USB cable pins of the holiday to get the download. So the do's and don'ts aren't arbitrary at all. Any holiday that has do's and don'ts, every do and don't is the key to your alignment with the download of that particular holiday. So for example, most holidays are do's, they're not so much don'ts. The don't maybe, don't do malacha like Shabbat. But the do's are generally lots of them. Like for example, do hear the shofar blasts on Rosh Hashanah. And there's going to be a download while you're doing that. There's a download of kingship. Comes Yom Kippur. There's a lot of don'ts. Do teshuvah on Yom Kippur, meaning do the whole thing, get it deep, get it real. The download's forgiveness. Sukkot. Go hang out in thatched huts for a week straight, drink wine, and shake cosmic vegetation for a week. The download, joy. Joy. Comes Hanukkah. Yeah, the do, there's no don'ts in Hanukkah, so the do is just light that light. The download is the light. It's a very Kabbalistic holiday, but it's the light of Am Yisrael pushing away the darkness of Western civilization. Okay? No offense to Western civilization, just. So, gotta call it what it is, okay? Tu B'Shvat, obviously the download is our connection with the pleasures of life. That's the pleasures. And being thankful, it's the thankfulness. Comes a month later, next full moon, that's full moon. Full moon later, which you can see it outside. Do they have a moon in Tel Aviv? Yeah, you can see that moon up there, it's growing because it's going to hit full on Purim. Full moon later, Purim, different download. Full moon later, Pesach, download of freedom. 50 days, each day is a download, counting the Yomer. Every day's got a download, Kabbalistic download. Meaning there's the first day of the first week is Chesed of Chesed. Second day is Gevurah of Chesed. Third day, right, if you know the Spheros in Kabbalah. Yeah, it's going to go through each one. Okay, did you know the 6-day war began on the 6th week, the 6th day of the 6th week? You guys know that, 1967? 6-day war began on the 6th day of the 6th week. And I'll tell you other couple of things that happened on that day. But I think it would be a little too intense for this group. You guys want to hear the other ones? Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band came out on that day. On that day. And also the chemist who had isolated something that causes someone to see through walls in space and time for like 12 hours straight at a high school party. So that hit the streets on that day. On that day. And I actually had a Rabbi in the old city who was he was 18 years old in high school in Greenwich Village. And he said that completely transformed reality for an entire generation. Same exact day, that day. Yeah, it was a very opening day, that day. And it's also Jerusalem Day today. That's the day, it's Jerusalem Day. And then obviously Tisha B'Av's the download of the morning that brings the joy. Because you know we're all you know that song. You know that song, right? Have joy with Jerusalem, right? Kol ohaveha, all her lovers, yeah. Except people don't even read the rest of it. You know what the rest of it says? Kol hamesamlim ba, anyone who mourns her. They don't mention that in the folk song. It's just like, Sisu Yerushalayim. Doesn't mention the all her mourners, but it's a download of mourning, and it says whoever mourns her will see her rebuilt. Yeah, so that's the download. We're going into Purim. Purim's download is unique. It's a very special download. It's a download that comes when your mind shuts down. When your mind shuts down, that's when you get the download. And that's the secret behind a very strange thing. You know, it says inside the Megillah to do these holidays on those days. And in the tractate of Megillah, our sages say, Chayiv inish levasume, a man or a person is obligated to get intoxicated, but the word they use is herbs, bisamim. Yeah? So those of you who smoke up on Purim, I guess you have a source for that. But I don't suggest it. Because as you hear what I'm talking about, it's to lose clarity. This is to lose clarity. The download comes when you lose clarity, and many people report back that after imbibing in that particular stuff, that they get clarity. And so this isn't necessarily the thing for you on Purim. You are to drink. Livasume probably means spicy wine, because in the old days they used to drink this like spicy wine. The wine was spicy. It was intense. You had to use lots of water for your wine. Could be even 5-6 water and 1-6 wine. That's how strong the wine was back then. And they used to drink it like water. That was the drink. That's what you drink when you drink. Ad de lo yada, ad, until, de lo yada, that you no longer know. Speaking of the word yada, our sages say, Ein sholim la'adam kama yada, ela kama yaga. Don't ask a man how much he knows, but rather how much he strives to know. And the reason I'm telling you that is there's a viral video that just hit YouTube about 3 hours ago, and I'm starring in it with the lead singer, Eli Schwebel, and it's in Tel Aviv, and I'm on a 100-kilo craziest bike ever, riding all over your town on this. I was riding for 4 hours for these shots. I still can't feel my wrists so much. And it just came in 2 hours ago. So please, everyone download it, send it to your friends and everything. Okay, how will they look it up? How will you look it up? Just put in the word yaga, kama yaga. How much did he strive? Ad de lo yada, until you no longer know. Ad de lo yada, till you no longer know. You can end it there. Till your brain is no longer what's in control right now. Ad de lo yada. You can really put a period there. But it goes on and says something very intense. It says, Ad de lo yada, bain, between, till you no longer know the difference between Arur Haman, and Baruch Mordechai. Arur Haman, cursed is Haman, and Baruch Mordechai. Those are two very different words. Arur, cursed, Haman, Haman, Baruch, blessed, Mordechai. They're very different words, very different letters involved, but you want to know something amazing. They both equal 502. Arur Haman, cursed is Haman, Baruch Mordechai are the same numerical value. Somehow our sages are telling us that in the end, it's all one. It's all the same. Everything is the same. Everything is one. The download of Purim comes when your mind gets shut down via the party and the alcohol. And then you get this download of it's all one. The word for secret in Hebrew and for Kabbalah is sod. Samech, Vav, Dalet. Samech is 60. Vav is 6, that's 66. Dalet is 4, that's 70. The word for secret is 70. The word for wine, Yud and Yud. And Nun is 50, Yud is 10, another Yud, 70. And our sages teach us that Nechnas Yayin, when the wine goes in, Yatsa Sod, the secrets come out. When the wine goes in, the secrets come out. When the wine goes in, the secrets come out. What is the secret? What's the secret that's going to come out? Now, we learn with dating that if you're on like your 4th or 5th date with someone, you're supposed to drink a bottle of wine together. Why? You tell me. When the wine goes in. No, together? secrets come out. The wine goes in, the secrets come out. And when you're dating, and everyone's putting on their like best face and they've got their right foot forward, so you need to pour some wine, and you need to see, what comes out. First date, it's dangerous. The wine goes in, the secrets come out. But what do you think it means here? What is the secret here that's going to come out? And the secret is that it's all one. That's the download of Purim. Now, what is the book we read on the Purim holiday? Megillat Esther. Megillat Esther. What does the word mean? Legalot. It means to reveal. The word Megillah means to reveal. Megillah. And what does the word mean, Esther? Anyone know what that means? Hidden. It means hidden. What's it mean together? Megillat Esther means the revelation of the hidden. We're going to read on Purim a book called The Revelation of the Hidden. Very strange. And when we read the book, something else strange going on there is you got this crazy story going on where things are like going well, and then they're going bad, and then they're going well, and then they're going bad, and then they're going well, and then they're going bad. You ever notice life's like that a little bit? You ever notice what? Life's kind of going, it's going great, and then it's kind of going bad, and then it's going great, and kind of going bad. And what name doesn't show up in the whole Megillat Esther? God's name. Hidden. God is hidden inside this story. The revelation of the hidden. What's the hidden? God. When the wine goes in, the secret comes out. What's the secret? The secret is that God is in all things. Everything is of God. Everything. It's all of God. The good, the bad, the ugly. It's all God. Flat tire, what is it? God. Tire full of air, what is it? It's God. It's God. An amazing thing is when you look back on your life and you see the stuff that was tough, the tough stuff that was rough, what did it make you? Buff. Yeah? The tough stuff that you went through that was rough made you buff. And you know that you would never trade it, even though when you were going through it, and I asked you, would you trade it? You're like, yeah, I'll do anything. I mean, think how much you might have paid a shrink during that time, just to hear you out. You'd do anything to get out of it. But the tough, rough stuff made you buff. As they say, when someone breaks an arm, especially an athlete, will I surf again? The doctor says, what do you mean? Well, could it break again? And he says, it could break again, but not there. Not there, it's stronger there. Because the rough stuff that makes you tough and buff is what has given you the muscles that you have in life. That's what makes you great. Your life is a story where there's an orchestration going on all around you. And you don't see it necessarily. Although I suggest when you're walking down like the street, like Dizengoff Street or Bar Kokhba Street, maybe later, if you turn around fast enough, you might see all the actors on the set, like with their guard down. Yeah? So just like when you're walking down the street, just kind of go like that. It really freaks out the people behind you. You need a chiropractor over that. Oh, yeah. Just give it quick. Can you imagine you did that and everyone's just like... I mean, isn't everyone on the set in your show? Isn't this the greatest movie of all time? I mean, think about the movie you're in right now. Feel the periphery of your vision, the sound that's all around you. This is like an amazing experience. This is awesome. And you're the star of the film. You know how I know you're the star? You probably think I am because I'm up here. You're the star of the film. The proof is, if you went out to that lobby with the old Berekas, just kidding. If you went out to just kidding, but I know those Berekas were bought in Jerusalem. The one bite tells you. So when you go out in that lobby, if you go out in that lobby or into that patio, you'd be like this. Oh my gosh, he's right. It's everywhere. Like this movie's all around me and I'm the star of this film. And it's all being orchestrated all around me. You are the star of your film. I suggest when you go to sleep tonight, is just open your eyes for a second and say, good night. Say good night to the crew. I mean, they're going to be filming you all night until you wake up in the next morning. We need to look back based on a principle that wherever a word shows up the first time in the Torah, it's telling you all about that particular thing. So we need to look back. Where does Haman show up the first time in our Torah? Where's the first time we see Haman? What do you mean, Haman in the Torah? Haman's the book of Esther. That's like way later. And the answer is, where does Hey Mem Nun show up? Haman. Hamina Eitz, very good. Hey Mem Nun, it's in Genesis, in the 3rd chapter, where God asks Adam and Eve, Hamin ha'etz, did you eat from that tree? Hamin ha'etz, did you eat from that tree that I commanded you not to eat? What tree? Eitz adat. Eitz adat, the tree of knowledge. Tree of knowledge of what? Good and evil. Where did Adam and Eve live before they ate from that tree? I don't know, but there was no such thing as good and evil. Did you eat from the tree of good and evil? Did you eat from the tree of distinction? I'd like you all to realize for a moment that your entire knowledge base is based in distinctions. When you were born, you didn't have any. That's why little babies are like, they're always like this. And after a while, they like realized, okay, this lady's like soft, warm, cuddly, snuggly, and she's got the goods. And so we'll call her mom. And there's this other one that's like an amusement park ride and doesn't realize I'm a girl, you know, and we'll call that one dad. And it's rougher and scruffer. And then later it's like, gee, it's dark outside. We'll call that night. Gee, it's bright outside. We'll call that day. Day's friendlier. And you go on and on and on. You realize what grass is versus sprinkler heads. Yeah. You're just developing more and more distinction, more and more distinction, more and more distinctions, more and more distinctions, more and more distinctions, until you have more and more dots, more and more dot, more and more dot. What's this? What's that? What's this? What's that? Eventually they send you to school. And school's like going big on distinctions. Think about it. Everything you've ever learned was a distinction. They were distinguishing things. And then you go on to junior high, high school, and you move your way up to college. College, 3rd year, they want you to make serious distinctions. I dropped out of school at 11 years old. Not everyone knows that about me, but I left school at 11 because I was on a search for truth at 11 years old. If I told you why, I think we'd be here for a long time. But for whatever reason, and something to do with my father knowing the mayor of Los Angeles, I wound up at a university called UCSB, You Can Study Bust. And it's crazy that I even wound up there because you have to have a grade, you have to have a GPA, you gotta have prerequisites and stuff like that. I didn't even know what that meant, prerequisites. I'd been out of school since 11 years old. But here I am in university. 3rd year, they asked me to choose a major. Why? Further distinctions. They want you to distinguish one thing well. And you can go get masters and really further distinguish things. And you can get a graduate degree in further distinguishing, PhD, further distinguishing things. And people will respect you for your distinctions. I don't know about you guys, but if I could hang out for an hour, if I got like stuck on a bus next to a guy for an hour, and he knew no distinctions, but he knew absolutely that all is one, meaning back to there, he knew all was one. As opposed to someone who knows all these distinctions, I'd rather hang out with that guy. I mean, it might be a little boring, because there won't be a ton to talk about, but there'll be a ton to learn about it all being one. Just like the Havdalah candle, multi-wicks burn into one. That it's all one. Now, you got to know distinctions. Reshit Chachma, the beginning of wisdom, is all going to be via distinctions. But what do we say? Anyone know what we say? Reshit Chachma, Yirat Hashem. The beginning of wisdom is knowing it's all one first. If you don't know it's all one, but you're a master of distinctions, it's a total tailspin wipeout. Because you know everything about everything, but you missed the basics, that it's all one. Adam and Eve lived in that oneness. They ate from the tree, and it says their eyes were open, which is kind of strange. I never imagined Adam and Eve hanging out by Braille. They weren't. What it means their eyes were open was they realized the world of distinction around them. And it was downhill after that. Now we do have to know distinction. I spend my whole day when I'm studying in Torah in Jerusalem, when I'm learning the Talmud, it's all distinctions. What does it mean? And how much distance between the roots of that guy's tree that have now entered my swimming pool? What is the measurement between that tree and my pool that he's paying for it or I'm paying for it? Because it's really expensive. And he planted a tree next to the fence. And we're going to measure that baby and figure out what's going on here. When I'm learning that, it's distinctions. But every day starts with me putting a box over what's called, there's a little hole here that babies, it's still open, but it closes when you get older. It's called a fontanelle. I love that name. It's English, fontanelle, but I like it because it sounds like the fountain of God. Fontanelle. That you put, why, where? There, because that's where your cerebral cortex is. And no offense, your cerebral cortex, mine too, are atheists. They only get what's coming in. Sight, smell, sound, all this stuff. It's just reactive to the world around you and matching it with everything from the past. And I start my day with the oneness. And I say Shema, and that's what's written inside there. Shema Yisrael. Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad. It's all one. And then I go into my day of distinction. And I start to learn great distinctions. But the wisdom is because the wisdom is all coming out of the oneness. In fact, we look at our fingernails in the Havdalah candle because your fingernails are translucent. Because Adam and Eve saw through the physicality and the distinction. They saw God in it all. And when they ate from the fruit of tree and knowledge of good and evil, boom, they turned opaque. Everything turned opaque. We are here to see through it all. That's our job. And the way we get there on Purim is through this drinking. Now, I'm just afraid a little bit that you guys aren't going to drink as much as you need to. Did I mention to you guys that 502 is the drunk driving code of California? Did I mention that? Yeah. In California, they don't say they got a DUI, they say they got a 502. What's 502? Right, Our Haman, Mordechai. A little more. You guys want some more music too? Yeah. Music? Yeah. All right. Afterwards, we're going to do a jam. Who is Haman that caused this genocidal decree against us? Who is Haman? And is he really the villain in this story? Is Haman the villain? You know, there are 48 prophets before the Jews go into exile in Babylon in the Persian Empire Purim story. 48 prophets didn't turn the Jews' hearts to be united with each other and connected to God. Comes along Haman with his decree, the Jews unite. This one Gentile Amalekite turns the entire Jewish nation to God. Something the prophets could never do. And all of us who live in Israel, we are all witness to the fact that we all unite and we all turn our hearts to God whenever it's tough for us. We're crazy that way. We just don't get the warnings of the prophets. We just don't get the warnings of the prophets. We need to feel our backs against the wall until we turn our hearts to each other and to God. It's always those two things, unity and connection to God. And in fact, God, you know what God says? It says in the prophet, it says, if you'd drop my Torah, but only love each other, that would be enough for me. Yeah, you guys know there's a sentence like that in the Torah? It's in the prophets. If you'd only drop my Torah, but turn your hearts to one another, that would be enough for me. It's just as important to God that we get along. Haman's decree happened when the Jews were totally not getting along. In fact, the way Haman got Achashverosh to agree to the genocide against the Jews, he called us Am Mefurad Umefuzar. A nation who's Mefurad, separate, Umefuzar, and spread out. No unity. That's what raises up a Haman, when we're not getting along with each other. We're spread out. Haman got us to unify. He got us to get together. So who's the villain? And by the way, who's the worst diplomat in the entire Purim story? Mordechai. Mordechai's the one making all the trouble. And this guy does not work for the Federation. Okay? It's like, chill out, man. Like the leader of the exiles, he just wants you to just do this, just like a little. Like, just bow down a little bit, what's a big deal? It's normal greeting, like, you ever been to Japan, it's like, just bow down, be nice. Make it trouble. Can you imagine what it was like for Mordechai coming home each day and everyone's like, this guy's gonna kill us, and it's all because of you. We learn an amazing thing about ego from Haman, because everyone's bowing down to him except for Mordechai. You ever notice that? Like, everyone could like you except one person, and you can't live with yourself? We learned that from Haman. Everyone loved him except, and there was even a line like that in the Megillah. And they're like, he's being raised up to power, and everything's great, and all the family's like going, you're amazing, and he's like, everyone loves me, and I got the signet ring of the king, but it's all nothing as long as Mordechai, the Jew, doesn't bow down to me. It's like, who cares? What the bearded Jew thinks of you, Nope, can't live with himself. Mordechai's the troublemaker. He's the worst diplomat ever. He's the leader of the Jews. And everyone else is like being PC. Everyone else is like, chill out. Like, we're not running the show here. So just like, relax and give a little honor to this guy. No, Mordechai is not going there. And from that, we get a decree of genocide against us. How much we got to drink till we no longer know the difference between Mordechai and Haman? Because Mordechai's making trouble and Haman's bringing the Jews together. Who's the hero, who's the villain in this story? I want to tell you, you don't really have to drink that much. The point is to get the point. The point isn't to drink that much. That much, if you drank so much that you no longer knew the difference between blessed is Mordechai and cursed is Haman, instead of praying to our God, you're going to be praying to the porcelain God. Yeah, that's a lot of drinking. So you don't know the difference between those two. The point isn't that much drinking. The point is to get it. You want to hear a crazy law? You ready for this law? What does someone do if they're allergic to alcohol or they've lost their privilege, Alcoholics Anonymous? Yeah, they can't drink. They can't drink. They have no choice. So I know some of you say smoke, but that creates another clarity as we spoke about. What do? You ready for this? This is a crazy law. Anyone know what it is? You go to sleep. What? What are you, a Litvak? Go to sleep on Purim? Who in the world is going to go to sleep on Purim? And the answer is lots of people go to sleep on Purim because if anyone can't handle alcohol, especially elderly and people, during those hours, because it's an hour breakdown there, it's got to be during the day of Purim, which Tel Aviv will usually miss because they'll be sleeping at night. And meaning they'll be partying all night and sleeping all day. But it's actually Thursday days where you have to have this festive meal. Thursday day. And those who daven, you daven mincha, because you're not going to be able to daven mincha later. And then, so you get it out of the way. Not that you should ever get prayer out of the way, but get it out of the way, because you're not going to be able to do it later. And then you start drinking after mincha, and you just drink until you break through, i.e. blur your entire GPS system. And then God gives you the download. But for those who can't drink, they go to sleep. Why? What are you doing when you're sleeping? You're out of your mind. You lose your das, your dot. And when you lose your dot, when you lose your mind in your sleep, God gives you the download of Purim. Jerusalem's pretty funny on Purim. You know, when it hits Shabbat, we're pretty serious about Shabbat, would you say, over in Jerusalem, especially as Hasidim and Meir Sharim, where I pray and, my whole shtetl I live in. You think we're pretty serious about Shabbat, right? What do you think happens when Purim hits Shabbat? What do you think goes on over there? What do you think happens over there? You think we break for Shabbat or we just keep going? What do you think? Break for Shabbat or the party just keeps going as if like nothing even happened? What do you say? Break or keep going? So the answer is that we keep going. We keep going. And someone who's like sober enough makes Kiddush in the middle of the Purim party. Shabbat Kiddush. And when we say the blessing after the meal, which is way later, we do the Kabbalat Shabbat around midnight or 1. And it's still during the meal, by the way. We do Kabbalat Shabbat during the meal. And, or it could be after, it doesn't matter when you do it. And then when we make the blessing after the meal, we do the paragraph about Purim and the paragraph about Shabbat. And we actually just keep partying into the night. All through the night. And we pray whenever we can. In our shul in Jerusalem, we had about half the shul could pray and the other half could only scream. And so the screamers went in a giant huggle. You know what a huggle is? It's a huddle, but the middle is also full of people. And it was all these Hasidim screaming in a huggle. And although they said that I was hugging I don't remember any of this, but they say I was hugging the curtain on front of the ark. I was hugging it and laying down the steps of the ark. And screaming. That's what they say happened during the prayers. I don't remember any of that. I do kind of remember looking up at the Ten Commandments from really down below, on the floor, hugging the curtain of the ark. There's people whose jobs to get rid of all the phones, so they have a garbage bag, and they go and they frisk you. I felt this guy frisking me. And he's frisking me, pulling out my phone, pulling out my stuff, and my wallet, and all this stuff, just chucking it in a bag and going to the next guy and frisking him. And they're just pulling everybody's phones out of their pockets. And we're all just like, oh, thanks a lot, man. Are we near Shabbat? He's like, it is Shabbat, man. No, it was minutes before. And the band plays till sundown. Literally till sundown. Meaning the women light 40 minutes before, and the band just kept going and going. And they're like 10, 9, the guy with the plug, 8, 7, 6, 5, 2, 1. And the band got quieter and quieter, so the dancers didn't realize the whole place, 800 people dancing. They didn't even notice. They just kept going. And somehow all of this gives God nachas. All of this gives God nachas. We are the most serious people in the world, us Jews, and we have a day dedicated to laugh at ourselves. This is the day to laugh at yourself. Dress up uniquely. Dress up creatively. Dress up as who you would be if you had the guts. Try that one. Dress up who you would be if you had the guts. Dress up making fun of something that people just take really seriously and you're just going to make fun of it. Get creative on your thing. I had a student come. He was Pink Floyd The Wall, because he never let anyone in, and so he actually had a wall built all around him that he somehow attached to all kinds of bars, and he like walked around all day inside the wall. Amazing costumes. I had a guy. He dressed as an Arab with a big pointed staff, that's sharp point, and it had God's name etched in it, in the staff. And he came in, and when he saw my Hasidic group with a Rebbe, this old Rebbe, his face is right above the table. And the tish is the Rebbe's table. It's going like 40, 50 feet with bleachers and Hasidim everywhere and bands playing. This guy decides, he thinks he's an Arab. He decides that he's going to have a peace process with the Rebbe, with his pointed stick and a bunch of drunk Hasidim. The peace process didn't go very well. But let's just say, after many attempts to get to the Rebbe, no one's allowed near the Rebbe. Everyone's so drunk, everyone wants to have a peace process with the Rebbe. And so they protect the Rebbe. I saw him one point, by the way, I'm on the bleachers dancing. I was next to my brother, and we're just dancing, I have the best time. And every once in a while, someone pulls on my pants from under the bleachers, and I look down, and I'm like, yeah, what is it? He's like, do you know this Arab guy? And I was just like, I never seen that guy before. Taking no responsibility for this guy. Anyway, at one point I see him go under the Rebbe's table and crawl all 50 feet. And next thing you know, his face pops up right next to the Rebbe. And the security guards, which is the Rebbe's gabbais, just like grab him and like throw him out of the place. Every time he tries to get near the Rebbe, he gets thrown out. Finally, we see him. My brother's like taps me. He's like, there he is again. He's at the edge. He's been thrown out of the shul several times now. He's at the end of the table again. And this time, get this, he gets up and onto the Rebbe's table. And he's in a robe with a jalbia under it, and the kafia and everything. And he starts walking with a pointed stick. It's like a spear at this point. The little Rebbe's like, and he's walking down the table towards the Rebbe. How long do you think it took for not only the security to get on the table, but like another 10 big Hasidim jumping onto the table? Not long. Boom! And then it was like a cartoon. All you could see was like, and every once in a while a fist and a pow, and pow, and boom. And now all the table, everyone who sits at the table are these elderly, frail Hasidim. And they all have all the wines along them. Hasidim are being thrown onto their laps, and the wine is everywhere. There is no more wine on the table. And all the bodyguards are on the elderly, and he has now, all his clothes have been ripped off of him, and all that's left is his jalbia. It's that sleeveless smock. His jalbia is wrapped around his neck, in a circle, and and the band stops. And he's sitting in his tidy whities on the Rebbe's table. And it's silent. You could hear a pin drop. 800 people in there. And we're just like, of course, someone's pulling on my pants, going like, do you know this guy? I'm like, he gets up, standing with just this like collar of a jalbia. He gets up in his tidy whities. Pulls the jalbia over his body. His stick is now just a shard. Yeah? And he starts walking towards the Rebbe. And when he finally gets right in front of the Rebbe, the security had regrouped, and they're about to jump on the tish when the Rebbe goes, how? And the security stops, and Yehoshua gets down on a knee and puts out his hand. The Rebbe shakes his hand, and the band starts, and we dance, and dance, and dance into the night. Yehoshua wound up having this strange phenomenon where he became a dog. Every time he drank, he would, first of all, Purim, he'd dress up like a dog, but anytime he drank, he would become a dog and start biting pedestrians. And it was the strangest phenomenon. I even saw an article from Tzfat in their newspaper of him being pulled in, dressed as a dog on Purim, and put in the drunk tank for biting people on the Midrashov of Tzfat. And I had to deal with like emergency situations and do financial remuneration for medical bills of people who were bitten by him when he would drink. Because he would turn into a dog whenever he drank. It was the weirdest thing ever. Are you ready for the best part? I mean, this is the worst part and the best part. You ready for this? First, the worst part. He dies suddenly. And you ready for this? This is going to be the craziest thing you've ever heard. You ready for this? I never told the Jerusalem crowd this. Check this out. I have an open third meal every week, and people always come in and party at my house. And Josh used to come a lot too. Josh is the doggy, yeah. Listen to this. Like a Scandinavian Gentile lady comes to my door carrying a dog that had been hit by a car, and the dog was like making a beeline for my house. It's third meal, it's Shabbat. And we're like sundown's like 15 minutes till Motzei Shabbat. And she's holding this dog, and I look at the dog and I'm like, what kind of crazy dog is that? It was completely skin. There was no hair, except right on the side of its belly, it had a round patch of hair. It was the strangest dog I've ever seen. I'm looking at this dog and I'm like, what is this? She's like, I have no idea, but everyone said the dog's going to your house. And she wanted to bring the dog into my third meal. I'm like, listen, lady, you're going to sit out here. 15 minutes later, we're going to call, Shabbos is out. We're going to bring the dog company, and they're going to put it to sleep because this dog was dying. And she's like, fine. So she sits there. You ready for this? That evening, I go to a bar mitzvah. This is my wife's friends. I didn't know them. I stayed in the car. My wife went in to say Mazel Tov. A guy comes out of his car and runs over to my car. This is the guy where Yoshua stayed. This is where he slept. It was out on the Mount of Olives, a little farm in the Mount of Olives. This is where Josh slept. He comes running up to my car and he says, the craziest thing happened to me on Shabbat. I said, what? He said, I'm having this crazy dream that Josh is this dog with no hair except a little patch of round hair right on his side. I'm like, you gotta be kidding. And he's asking me to die because he came back as a dog and he just wants to die. It's obviously a human soul in a dog. It's not fun. So he wants to die. And I said, that's crazy. He says, here's the craziest part, is I woke from the dream because my wife was shaking me and shaking me and shaking me. And I wake up from my dream, I'm like, what? And she says, there's a note from Josh, a receipt on our Shabbat table. That's been, he died like 6 months earlier. There's a note, a receipt from a bank in America. When Josh had flown to America, he had deposited money for them. And it had a receipt with his name signed on it on their Shabbat table. That Shabbat day. That afternoon, they'd already cleaned the table. What? The dog died, that night, when they put the dog to sleep. Crazy. And the story goes on, but sorry someone had to die in that story. Now, let's just finish this all off. Okay? And then we're gonna play for you guys. You know what? We'll play now. Where's my drummer? I'm gonna play a song or two and then we're gonna jam. Are there any questions, by the way? Questions? Okay, listen up. I just want to tell you guys a couple things just of interest. Number one is I have a ton of classes online. Lots of classes online. If you just look up Rabbi Yom Tov online on YouTube or whatever. That's that. I also run seminars in personal growth called The Possible You. And The Possible You. And there's going to be a women's seminar on December 26th. Also, this evening is in loving memory of Gershom Bird. Gershom Bird heard a lot about the Tel Aviv Chevra and never got to see it. So, yeah. Gershom Bird.
Next Possible You for women is December 26th. Did I say December? Oh, I gave myself away. I don't understand planning very well. It's going to be April 26th, a couple weeks after Pesach. April 26th. You can check it out online, thepossibleyou.org. What was it? thepossibleyou.org. Check it out. Okay. Here we go. We're going to start with a Purim song. You got to clap again. Okay? This is called Chayiv Inish V'Vesumim. That a man is obligated to get drunk till he no longer knows what the world's going on. 1, 'Chayev Inish, repeat after me. Chayev Inish. Lebesume. Ad de lo yada. Try it again. Chayev Inish. Lebesume. Ad de lo yada. Okay, now let's see if you can say it all together. Chayev Inish Lebesume Ad de lo yada. Try that. Chayev Inish Lebesume Ad de lo yada. Let's go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, you guys wanna like a little more like a retro rock song type of thing? A little retro rock song? Not so much. You like that kind of joyous stuff, yeah? Yeah, let's keep that. Okay, here we go. Oh my gosh. Here's the other song we do for like 2 hours. This is a crazy song. Yeah. Ready? Sorry for the drummers. These aren't the most creative songs because we need every beat hit. But okay, here we go.